Cocaine found in the West Wing of the White House. Can you say, Hunter? Good morning, Boston. Okay, my friends, I hope all of you had an incredible 4th of July weekend. I did, and, I was going to talk about the massive riots in France, obviously the huge historic Supreme Court decisions of a couple days ago and the massive impact they're having. And yet this story now is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, it is now, maybe outside of the riots in France, the biggest story in the world. So here is exactly what has happened. As many of you know, Hunter Biden has been essentially living in the White House now for a while. It was first a couple days a week, then most of the week, and now pretty much he's been living there. Well, over the weekend, a phone call, a 911 call from the White House went to the local fire department where they said that there was a white powder, a supposedly a substance found inside the White House. A D.C. fire department team immediately descended, and then they began to bring in a hazmat team. Now, when news broke that there was a hazmat team going through the White House, with the help of their allies in the corrupt establishment media, the propaganda media, the fake news media, first, they came out with the lie that there was a hazardous substance found near the White House. Not in the White House, but near the White House. And not to worry about it, everything is safe, everything is fine. Well, very quickly, the hazmat team said, this is not a hazardous substance. It's not anthrax. Far from it. This is cocaine. It's obvious it's cocaine. And it's not just it's cocaine, and they found a bag of cocaine, but it's not near the White House. It's inside the White House. Now, more information is coming out. Even though the media is desperately trying to cover this up, they just can't. According to the New York Post, according to the Daily Mail, now confirmed by other media outlets, speaking to sources within the fire department and someone within the White House, who I think clearly has had enough of Hunter Biden. To me, this reeks of Hunter Biden, saying we're tired of the Secret Service covering up this guy, covering up his mess, covering up his drugs, covering up all of this. Someone has been leaking. Someone clearly has had enough. Well, here is now what we do know. It was initially thought that the cocaine was found in the library, which is right next to the Oval Office. Instead, now apparently what they're saying is that the cocaine, a bag of it, was found in a cubby in a storage facility right near the White House. In fact, right near the Oval Office. So it is in the West Wing. It is where people who work at the White House staff, as well as guests, i.e. Hunter, will leave some of their belongings behind, or will leave those belongings in a cubby as they go through their days. Now, look, there's no definitive evidence that it's Hunter Biden, but who has a drug problem? Hunter. Who's been battling cocaine addiction for most of his life? Hunter. I mean, all that's missing now is the Parmesan cheese on the floor and pictures of Hunter. Just, is that cocaine or is that Parmesan cheese? At this point, I can't tell the difference. And he's just sniffing away. Look, I'll take Hunter Biden in the library with the crack pipe if we're playing a game of Clue. So anyway, So it moved from the library to a cubby in the storage facility. But what is now clear is that someone has been bringing in cocaine into the White House, snorting it, using it, and obviously they tried to deflect with this whole, this could be a hazardous substance, and we need the fire department, and this was outside the White House and not inside the White House, and someone doesn't want to let Hunter Biden get away with it again. Now, a couple of points, and then I want to open it up to you, the great audience of Kuhner Country. 617-266-6868 is the number. Number one, why is the Secret Service, and apparently they said they are not going to be checking for fingerprints on the cocaine bag. Why is that? Why won't you be checking for fingerprints on the bag of cocaine? You check for fingerprints on the bag of cocaine, and I'm telling you right now, you're most likely going to find who the cocaine belongs to. And to me, there are only two people it could belong to, realistically. Well, it could be others. I don't know. It could be some, cokehead staffer, but I have my doubts. Number one, Hunter. Suspect numero uno. Well, they've got his fingerprints on file. So that's an easy match. The other possibility, and it has entered my mind. What about Joe Biden? Really, honestly, what about Joe Biden? Maybe the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. It explains the brain damage. It explains the clear cognitive decline. It explains his inability. I know he's got dementia, but it does explain a lot about how this guy can't string a coherent sentence or make a rational thought. And maybe the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. It also explains, is this part of what they have him on, nose candy as it's called, and this is what gets him going. You pump a guy with enough of this stuff, and there he is like a beetle, giving speeches, and for a couple hours he's fine. He's been bouncing off the walls, screaming and yelling and ranting and raving like he's coked to the gills, and then he disappears. He just completely crashes, and you don't see him for days. So either they're covering up for the president, El Presidente, Joe Biden, or they're covering up for the degenerate crackhead son, Hunter. I mean, to me, it could be somebody else, obviously. You never know. But let's be honest. Realistically, if you're a detective on the case, who would be your number one suspect? Hunter. Who'd be another one? The president. So why do they not want to take the fingerprints and examine them off the cocaine bag? To me, that screams cover up. Let's clean up Hunter Biden's mess again. Now, furthermore, after everything Hunter and Joe and the Biden crime family have now put this country through, could he be that stupid? I'm talking Hunter now. Could he be that stupid, that reckless, that irresponsible to bring bags of cocaine? And by the way, how long this has been going on, we don't know. This time it was found. And my suspicion is, I think it was a staffer who called 911, obviously, from the inside, who said, I've had enough. The Lincoln bedroom is not a crack lab. The Lincoln bedroom is not a meth lab. This is not a place where you do lines of cocaine. The White House it's not a place where, oh yeah, man. Okay, let's go. One more line, baby. One more. Yeah, man. This is not what you do in the West Wing. This is not what you do in the White House. And I think maybe one staffer said, I'm sick and tired. We're constantly covering up. This guy's cleaning up mess after mess after mess after mess. And so could he be that stupid? Could he be that reckless? Well, everybody's been cleaning up his mess his entire life. Now, the condition of his plea deal is that he must be clean and sober for 2 years. That's why if they nail him on this cocaine, he's got big problems. But if they nail him on this cocaine, that plea deal is out. That plea deal is out. And this time, he's not going to get a slap on the wrist. This time, he's going to have to do serious hard time. So the Secret Service is now obviously in full cover-up mode. The Biden White House is in full cover-up mode. And the media, they want to sweep this under the rug. Can you imagine, as I said to Grace last night, tables are turned. Let's just flip it. Can you imagine if this was Trump in the White House? Would say Don Jr. or his children living there? And they found a bag of cocaine? This would be front page news, 24/7 coverage. Now they're desperately trying to cover it up. 6:20, actually 6:19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Okay, the scandal, and it is now a scandal. There's no question about it. Engulfing the White House, this mystery now continues to deepen and deepen and deepen. Whose cocaine is it? That's now the question. So they have found a bag of cocaine inside the White House. In fact, in the West Wing, now in a cubby area in a storage facility used by guests who stay at the White House. Hunter Biden, as well as people who are White House staff. Now, the Biden and the family were at Camp David when apparently the cocaine was found. Initially, they thought it was a hazardous substance. At least that's what the White House propaganda team, their press team, tried to convey. And they had the D.C. Fire Department come, acting as if it was a hazmat situation. Could be some kind of suspicious white powder, anthrax, whatever. They quickly, very quickly, said, no, this is cocaine. It's clearly cocaine. Now, they've changed their stories multiple times, which again makes me even more suspicious. This leads to Biden or the father or somebody close to the family. Because they said it was near the White House, not in the White House. They were adamant. Then it turns out, from a whistleblower, no, it was in the White House. Then it was in the library. Now it's not in the library. It was in a cubby, in a storage facility, right near the Oval Office. We're talking now the West Wing. The Secret Service is refusing to take fingerprints off the cocaine bag. Why? It's obvious, to cover up. Now, furthermore, as one of our top listeners in Moscow, in Madarasha, made a point, an American, but now staying in Russia, said to me in an email just 5 minutes ago, Jeff, this thing could be solved in 30 seconds. There are surveillance video cameras 24/7 all over the West Wing, in the library, in the storage facility, in the Oval Office. It does everywhere. Absolutely every square inch of the White House, especially the West Wing, has 24/7 surveillance video footage. So all the Secret Service has to do, and I'm positive they've already done it, is play back the tape and, look at that white baggie. There's Hunter. Holy mackerel, he's got a nose like a vacuum cleaner. Holy shamoly. Whoa. So it's easy. We could find out who the cocaine belongs to within 24 hours. It's obvious now they're in cover-up mode again for Hunter Biden. This would abrogate his plea deal. This would get him thrown back in jail. This would engulf the entire family again into a massive crisis and another massive scandal that, frankly, this time they may not be able to weather. So the media, the Secret Service are doing everything they can to suppress and bury this. Will they succeed? My question to you, 617-266-6868 is the number. The mystery of the cocaine in the White House. Hunter? Joe Biden? Or is this just a coincidence? And it happens. We have to keep all possibilities open. That the drug addict's son, the drug addicted Hunter, as he's living with mommy and daddy, maybe it's not his bag of cocaine. Maybe it was a White House staffer, or it was somehow smuggled in. I have my doubts, but it is a possibility. But if that's the case, why won't they lift fingerprints off the cocaine bag? And why won't they tell us about the footage? So, was this Hunter's cocaine? Or even Joe Biden's cocaine? And is this the scandal that will finally bring the House of Biden down? Did you ever think you would ever be talking about a cocaine lab? Cocaine being done now in the West Wing, in the White House. Did you ever think that they would bring us this low? And this, by the way, happened over the 4th of July celebrations, as we were celebrating our independence as an independent country, as an independent republic and an independent nation. I mean, you want to talk about trash. I got to say this about Democrats. When you go for trash, you don't mess around. You get the worst white trash you can find. And that's what you've installed in the White House. 617. Soon we're going to find, I'm telling you, Hunter's meth lab. As I said, in the Lincoln bedroom. And his father, he's the smartest, most decent man I know. My Hunter. Let me guess. The media again is going to say, this is a story of how a father loves a son. And together they created a drug trafficking cocaine empire. I mean, the only thing missing, I'm serious, is Hunter pulling a big machine gun out of the safe. You know, a la Al Pacino in Scarface, Tony Montana. Say hello to my little friend. As DEA agents close in on the White House. 631 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, now the mystery deepens. Cocaine found inside the White House, inside the West Wing. Who do you think it belongs to? And will we ever find out? Or will this be another 5-year investigation? And then when the statute of limitations expires, suddenly, yeah, we think it could be Hunter's. In other words, will they cover up for Hunter again? Or is he now just too stupid, too reckless, too irresponsible, maybe even has a secret suicide wish? There's something about this guy. No, really. The laptop, even the daughter, Ashley, leaving her diary behind with the shocking allegations made about her father, Joe Biden, having taken inappropriate showers with her when she was 11, 12 years old. It's almost as if they want to sabotage Joe Biden and sabotage his presidency. Well, whatever it is, there is something going on. It's just not normal. It really isn't. 617-266-6868. Larry in Leominster. Thanks for holding, Larry, and welcome.
Jeff, sir, how is your 4th?
Very good, Larry. And I got to tell you, I couldn't stop laughing my rear end off the last 2 days following this story. Larry, did you ever think you'd read a story about cocaine in the White House?
Well, I don't know. I mean, how much worse could this be than what, like, Bill Clinton was sniffing in his day?
Larry, let me ask you this. You're very shrewd. You're a military guy. You've been around the block. Do you think this bag of cocaine, does it belong to Hunter? And why is the Secret Service saying they will not take fingerprints off the bag? Or discuss the video surveillance footage? Are they covering up for Hunter? What's happening? Why is the Secret Service? They don't seem to be too eager to catch whoever is the bag of cocaine it belongs to.
Well, I don't think they themselves are the ones who are trying to cover it up. You know, they usually want to have a reputation of being pristine. This is coming from higher up, right? However, I was going to ask you, I'd like to bet you a steak dinner. How much you want to bet that they're going to take more time and do more investigation on who the leaker is, the whistleblower on that it was actually in the White House, than who owns the cocaine?
Oh, I wouldn't take that bet. I'm going to lose. I'm telling you right now. I mean, yeah. I'd love to treat you to a steak dinner, so if you want, I'll say yes. And that's just an excuse for me to treat you to a steak dinner, Larry. But I'd rather just treat you to a steak dinner and not, Kuhner lost a bet and he had to do it. Larry, there's no way I'm taking that bet because you're 1,000% correct. They're more determined to find out who called 911, who got the fire department here, who got the federal authorities involved, who tipped off the media, than about whose bag of cocaine it is. Because I think it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. I mean, anything's possible, obviously, but Hunter's been living there now for a while, and all of a sudden, there's a bag of cocaine.
Like you were saying, you wanted to talk about different subjects. I wanted to come on here today, and I wanted to tell you how I went and saw Sound of Freedom yesterday. And I recommend your whole viewing audience, listening audience, go see it. It's an amazing movie, but it's hard to sit through. It's really uncomfortable to sit through. But now we got to deal with this joke of an administration. Now, there was a movie out years ago with Charles Bronson and his then wife, Jill Ireland, called Assassin. You may never have heard of it. It was a pretty interesting movie. He was Secret Service, and his wife played the First Lady of whatever president was in the White House at the time. And someone was trying to kill her, and they couldn't figure out why till nearly the end. And it turned out the president who was in the office was losing in the polls. And he wanted to, there was rumors that she wanted to divorce him, but they felt some of his staff felt that he'd be a shoo-in to win re-election if she was assassinated on the sympathy vote. Don't put it out of your head that something might happen to Hunter between now and, say, the New Hampshire primary or whatever primary they're doing because the Democrats screwed up the order on that.
Oh, you mean in a sense of getting sympathy for Joe? They've
been feigning sympathy for him. You had mentioned it earlier. I think it was that idiot Anna Navarro was on there whining on The View. I don't watch it, but I saw a clip of it where she's just, she's pearl clutching, and she goes, "Oh, it's just his love for his son." They're trying to play that up. Imagine if he was killed or something happened, and they'd run with that for the next 6 months. That poor man lost another son.
Larry, honestly, I wouldn't put anything beyond these people. I really wouldn't. You're completely right. I mean, we're talking, these are a bunch of, they're a bunch of sociopaths. And look, if they're willing to kill millions of Americans, and that's what they did, in order to get rid of Trump, what's another drug addict Hunter Biden? What's another crackhead degenerate son who clearly now is becoming a massive liability to the Biden crime family? I think there's no question now I mean, now this is, look, the Secret Service, they better go all in and cover this up like they've never covered anything else up. Because if it turns out that it's his bag of cocaine, they're all going down. Because the plea deal is finished. David Weiss can't continue to cover up for Joe and Hunter. It's going to trigger, I mean, the political ramifications. This is political dynamite. It's just going to blow. So he's going to have to go to jail. Hunter doesn't want to go to jail. He may rat on his father. Like, they have to clean up this mess. And, you know, Larry, the most disgusting thing of all is the way the media industrial complex, the quote unquote mainstream media, in other words, the corrupt propaganda media, the fake news media, they don't want to touch this story with a 10-foot pole. You can see they are petrified of this story because this story will bury their guy. There's no question about it. So you're right. You know, maybe a decision's going to have to be made. Hey, Joe, it's either the presidency or your son. Either it's power and maybe a possible second term, or, you know, you got to cut your son loose because he's politically now he's killing us.
It won't be Joe that makes that decision. It'll be Jill. Remember, that's not her. That's not her kid. She's the babysitter, but she's not their biological mother. I don't think, Lady Macbeth would think twice about having him offed.
Larry, dynamite call. The dynamite call because you say things that many people are thinking but don't have the guts to say. Larry, as always, thank you. God bless you, my friend. 617-266-6868 is the number. Do you believe the cocaine belongs to Hunter Biden? And will the Secret Service, and Larry is right, from orders much higher up, will they be able to clean up Hunter's mess one more time? David in Hyannis. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good, David.
Awesome. First-time caller. Listened to you guys about, a couple of years.
Welcome,
but,
David.
I had to jump in on this. This is an amazing story. Are you there?
Yes, David. Please go ahead. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
I would love to know what our President Donald Trump has to say about this. Too bad you couldn't get him on the line. He knows that White House inside and out. So he could probably give us an idea of, if there are actually cameras in that area or anything like that.
Oh, David, look, I can guarantee it. This has been reported, fact-checked. Take it to the bank. There are video surveillance cameras of the storage facility, of the cubbies, of every square inch of the West Wing. So they have the video. All they got to do is, press rewind, focus on the cubby, and eventually you'll find the white powder. So they know who did it. I think it's pretty obvious. That's why I'm 99.9% sure it's Hunter. And when the Secret Service says, well, we're not going to fingerprint the cocaine bag. Well, why won't you fingerprint the cocaine bag? If you want to find out who brought an illegal, illicit substance, just fingerprint the bag. But they don't want to fingerprint the bag. Because if you fingerprint the bag, you know whose fingerprints are on file? Hunter. So, and the White House, and the other thing is the White House press corps, they're acting like this story doesn't even exist. 617-266-6868 is the number. You can text us 70470. This is from 781. Jeff, they never found cocaine in Trump's White House. The Bidens are unfit to live in the people's house. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree with you more. Now, here, just to give you very precisely, here is the timeline. The last time Hunter Biden was seen at the White House before the cocaine was discovered was Friday, 2 days before. He went to Camp David along with his wife, Melissa, their 3-year-old son, Bo. He went with his father, Joey, and Dr. Jill. And apparently they spent the 4th of July weekend at Camp David. The cocaine was discovered Sunday evening, and someone within the White House made a 911 call to dispatch to the fire department, the D.C. Fire Department, who brought a hazmat team in because the fear was this could be a potential hazardous situation, an unknown white powder, and the White House spin, the lies, began from that very point. That's when they began to say it was a hazardous substance. It was not cocaine. They were adamant it wasn't cocaine. They denied it was cocaine. Then they kept saying it was found near the White House as if it was outside, like on the White House grounds. And it turned out, of course, it was cocaine. And it was not just in the White House. It was in the West Wing. And in particular, in a cubby in a storage facility right near the Oval Office. And Hunter Biden came back yesterday, and apparently there was another party at the White House, and there was Hunter schmoozing the room, talking, eating, stuffing his face without a care in the world. My money, it's Hunter's cocaine bag. That's my guess. It's Hunter's cocaine. But that's me. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is a really good email. Jeff, we're looking at this all wrong. Who does Hunter hate? Dr. Jill. Jill Biden. Behind the scenes, she wants him gone because he's such a threat to her lifestyle and, of course, their power. I think she planted it. Interesting. Or she, I don't think she even needed to plant it. Or everybody can see what Hunter's doing. There he is. He hasn't stopped. He can't help himself. And she's going to destroy everything. This is unbelievable. He's turning the White House into a freaking bordello. Into a crack house. He's turning the White House into a crack house. And they go, look, this is going to bring us all down. We're going to call in the cocaine. We know where he stashes it. We know where he puts it in his cubby. And she had someone, while they were away at Camp David, plausible deniability, call 911 and say, come down here. There's something suspicious here in the White House. And now this story cannot be contained. Now they could be in a world of trouble. At least Hunter could be in a world of trouble. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, listen now to the coded dispatch call. And if you listen to this, you can hear cocaine. So it's obvious that even the person who initially found it didn't think this was anthrax or some hazardous white powder. I think it was pretty clear, nah, it's coke. It's coke, and without saying it, wink, wink, it's Hunter's coke. Roll cut 33, Mike.
To repeat, I didn't copy your results on the Gemini.
Gemini's results are new match found with a red bar, new match found in the library. We'll go ahead back and come on up. Correction record has that we have a result on the Gemini. We have a yellow bar stating cocaine, hydrochloride, gas number 53-21-4.
I mean, it's unbelievable. So the 911 call was made. Hazmat team is on the situation very quickly. They get the substance. And in that dispatch call, very quickly, they're like, we have a yellow bar, i.e. it's cocaine. It's cocaine. It's definitely cocaine. So they knew very early on, contrary to the lies of Karine Jean-Pierre, contrary to the lies of the White House press team, this wasn't some, for days they were saying, oh, hazardous substance. Oh, my God, we don't know, White House under attack. It was found near the White House, on the White House lawn, hell, on the sidewalk on Pennsylvania Avenue. No, it was coke, and it was in the West Wing. And we have a pretty good idea of who we think the bag belongs to, or who's using the stuff in the bag. Let's put it that way. 617-266-6868 is the number. And the amazing thing is, mark my words, the libs will still defend them. I'm telling you, they still will defend Joe, Hunter, and the entire Biden crime family to the death. To the death. 617-266-6868. Pat in Beverly. Thanks for holding, Pat, and welcome.
Oh, hi, Jeff.
Hi, Pat.
Hello.
You're on the air. Go ahead, Pat.
I'm not surprised that there was drugs found. I mean, don't you think there was drugs found when Obama? No, they weren't found, but don't you think they were used when Obama was president? And quite frankly, he's still president. The left want to get rid of Joe Biden. They can't control him. His dementia is too far gone. They have to install somebody else. People need to ask themselves and go back in time. Why was Joe Biden picked? Was it because his other son covered for Obama in Illinois? Yes. So this whole, and we've hit rock bottom. So we have hit rock bottom.
I got to say, very few countries in the world would tolerate drug use, drugs being done, say, inside the presidential palace, inside, Westminster, up in, let's say I'm talking England now, or they just wouldn't accept it. They just wouldn't. Grace was recently overseas. She went with my two kids, and they went for a nice little quick vacation. She went to see a very, very dear friend of hers, and she's, European, Italy. Her friend lives in Italy. And they said, look, let me tell you how Europeans look at Joe Biden. We are absolutely befuddled that the American people would put up with somebody who is that clearly senile. And by the way, and she's a lefty. Grace's friend in Italy is a, staunch lefty, big supporter of the European Union, hated Trump with a passion. And she's like, this is beyond politics. The guy is clearly demented. He clearly is senile. Clearly. And you have him as president of the United States? Yes, he's a puppet. Yes, Obama controls him. They all say that in Europe. They go, it's clear Obama's pulling the strings. But for your own dignity as a nation and as a people, how can you have this buffoon, completely senile, cognitively gone, as the president of the United States, and then you throw in Hunter, the drug dealer, the crackhead, who's banging Russian prostitutes $10,000 a pop, and is the bagman for Joe Biden in this massive pay-to-play influence peddling scheme that we're now talking tens and tens of millions of dollars. I mean, pimping out the White House, pimping out U.S. policy, selling us down the river to China, to Ukraine, to whatever country pays the highest, is the highest bidder. The Europeans have said the Bidens have turned the White House into a whorehouse where America is for sale. I mean, these are the Europeans. So, Pat, I couldn't agree with you more. I cannot, in good conscience, disagree with you. We've hit rock bottom. It's like an addict. Like this is it now. You're strung out on drugs. You're lying in some alley someplace, and you're like, how the hell did I get here? What happened? that's pretty much where we are now, Pat.
Well, and sadly, most Americans are totally oblivious of this. And if you say something to them, they're like, oh, you're crazy. You're making it up. Somebody should propose using the 25th Amendment. Why aren't they using it? He is a classic example of why the 25th Amendment should be used.
Oh, you're dead on. I mean, this is it. It's exactly for a case like this. Exactly. And look, there's still another year and a half to go. If things are this bad now with him, how is he going to perform on the debate stage? And look, I can play you cuts. It's the same, but it would just be the same show every day. Here, Sandy's got cuts. 4th of July. By the way, now, his speeches under 10 minutes. He cannot go for more than 10 minutes. Where he's rambling, he's quiet, and he's speaking, and then he just stops talking. And he just starts staring like into outer space in the room. And everyone's like, what's going on? 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. And then he just starts to talk again. But it's incoherent. It has nothing to do with what he was previously talking about. So he's zoning in and out. He's a mess. He's an absolute mess. And they're going to try to prop him up for another year and a half. Good luck. Pat, the only thing saving the Democrats right now, and they're in trouble, don't get me wrong, but the only thing saving them is the low information voter. What you're talking about. When you talk to them about facts, about what stories, about things that are now widely known, widely reported, and they're so ignorant, or they, watch CNN or whatever on social media all day, that they have no clue what's really going on. The low info crowd is the only thing now that's keeping the Democrats barely afloat. But if the dam bursts, they're finished.
We can only hope.
Fingers crossed. Pat, thank you so much for that call. Well, that's why I do the show. And that's why I can't tell you how thankful I am for the incredible reach of the show, the ratings of the show, frankly, their streaming numbers, how people are listening all across the country. And Kuhner Country continues to grow and grow and grow. So that's this show is the alternative to the fake news media. And frankly, that's why the left can't stand me, because they can't handle the truth. 617-266-6868. Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I hope you and your family enjoyed the 4th.
We did. We had a great 4th. How about you, Mark? Did you have a good 4th?
I did. I stayed home, actually, because I really don't like to be out on holidays like New Year's Eve and the 4th of July, because there's just crazy people out there, and I'm always stuck in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I don't want to be part of it.
Better safe than sorry. I'm with you, Mark.
Absolutely. I watched the fireworks on TV, what little I could see of them because of the weather. It was awful. What a waste of money this year on fireworks for the city of Boston, I can tell you that. But anyway, one of three things is going to happen here, Jeff. Number one, they're probably going to try and blame a staffer. Number two, somehow they'll try and blame Donald Trump or a member of his family, most likely either Don Jr. or his brother. Or number three, when this administration comes back from vacation, they'll try and pass a law to make cocaine legal like pedophilia so nobody gets in trouble for it. But it's clear, Jeff. It's clear. We all know whose blow it is. It's Hunter's blow. We all know it's his blow. Come on, this is better than, I swear to God, Jeff, this is better than Bill Clinton under the desk in the Oval Office. I'm sorry. I give Clinton credit for that. I do. Good for him. But this is unacceptable. Unacceptable, Jeff.
Mark, I'm just curious, just to play, I mean, of course, I agree with you, but just to be play devil's advocate. What do you say to the argument? The West Wing, hundreds of people work there. A lot of guests are brought in. A White House press corps goes through that area all the time. So potentially there are hundreds of people who could have brought that bag of cocaine in. That, in other words, in this country, you're innocent until proven guilty. So we shouldn't be pointing the finger at Hunter. It could be anybody's cocaine. What say you?
Well, first of all, let's get one thing straight, Jeff. If you are a conservative MAGA supporter, you're not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent. That's number one. Number two, did they not find it in a secure locked area? Didn't you say that earlier?
In a cubby, in a storage facility.
So any random person that goes in there, how are they going to know where this little cubby is to hide stuff? We're not idiots, Jeff. We are not idiots. They need to stop covering up for this guy, or if they are sabotaging him, just do it where he can finally nail him and get him the crap out of there. Seriously. This is becoming the biggest joke in the history of politics and in the history of the United States and the world. They're all laughing at us. I can imagine what China and Russia and everybody else is saying right now. Oh, look at this, comrade. They do cocaine in the White House. All we do is drink vodka.
Mark, thank you very much for that call. No, really, I got to tell you, the world is laughing at us. They really are. The Kremlin's laughing at us. Beijing, the Politburo, they're laughing at us. I mean, you name it, the mullahs. I mean, the whole world. Forget our enemies. Our friends are laughing at us. He's right. He's like, we have vodka, and look at these Americans, And even then, Vladimir says one drink only after 6 in the evening. Nobody can be drunk on the job. And this, I mean, they're gonna find a meth lab in the Lincoln bedroom. Give this guy enough time. It's gonna be, you're not gonna believe what soon you're going to have the hazmat people coming in almost on a weekly basis because you've got bags of cocaine being spilled everywhere. And they're like, oh, not again, Hunter. Not again. We got to clean up again here. Bring in the vacuum cleaners. Come on. No, this was a whole kilo this time. Son of a bee. 617-266-6868. Alan in Ipswich. Thanks for holding, Alan, and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Jeff. Love your show. That's why I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. First-time caller. Look, I can speak from experience. I'm a former addict, and when you're running around the house or the White House, I don't have a White House, and, you do a line, and then you hide it someplace. Then you can't find it. Then you finally find it after 3 hours, and you got several more 8 balls heading your way, and then you find it again. So what I'm thinking is, like I said, I speak from experience. I used to do this stuff. I think he was doing blow in the White House. He lost it, and he couldn't find it. So he had to get out of there with his duffel bag and go to Fort Devens or whatever he does with his
Camp David. It was this time, Alan, it was Camp David. He went with his father and his mother-in-law and his wife and kids. That's how they were spending the 4th of July weekend. But, Alan, if you don't mind me asking, and I'm sorry, forgive me because I've never done drugs in my life, ever. Why would you forget it? I mean, why not just, call me crazy, but you snort a line or whatever and you put the bag in your pocket and say, if I want to snort again, I will. Why do you lose the bag and you forget about it? Why?
Okay, you're coked out. You're probably doing, you're probably smoking marijuana and cigarettes and drinking, and you don't put it back in your pocket because it's going to melt, Jeff. You can't put blow in your pocket and walk around. It'll melt and it'll be gone. So you have to hide it in a cool place. And I'll tell you, I've done this many times. I have lost like 8 balls. I'm sure some of the people on the show know what I'm talking about. And I'm kind of nervous right now because I've never talked on the radio before. But this is what happens. You do your blow, you hide it, and you can't find it. And that's probably
because you're so stoned, happened. Right? You're so stoned.
Yeah, you're whacked out of your mind on Scooby Snacks. I am not whacked out right now. I'm just really hyper because, I'm talking to Jeff Kuhner.
No, I understand. And I'm very happy you're clean and sober. And Alan, please stay clean and sober. If you could do me that favor, I'd really appreciate it. Because it's good for you and your family. And I know so many people love you. Alan, in the end, I got to ask you this. Knowing how drug addicts are, even if they're trying to be recovering drug addicts, do you believe the bag of cocaine, is it Hunter's?
All right, you can put two and two together and add up 4, right? I mean, Hunter's been caught with blow. We have video of it, right? Of course it was his coke. Of course it was. I don't know for sure, but it just seems kind of suspicious that all of a sudden we got a guy, the president's son, who does coke.
No, you're right. I mean, what a coincidence, huh, Alan? What a coincidence. Alan, superb call. Phenomenal call. Thank you so much, Alan. And please continue on your road to recovery. Please stay clean and sober. 617-266-6868 is the number. By the way, I kid you not. Look at pictures of Hunter Biden at the White House. Whenever he's coming or going, entering or leaving, he's always got this backpack. He's always got this little backpack. And I'm starting to think, I'd like to search that backpack. I'd like to see what's in that backpack. Let's just, is that baby powder, Hunter? Really, huh? For little 3-year-old Bo? Really? Let me take a look at your quote-unquote baby powder. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day. Now that someone within the White House who was not a member of the Secret Service dialed 911 and reported that cocaine had been found, or a bag of cocaine had been found, why do you think that person did it? This is now the question. This is the mystery. Someone blew the whistle deliberately. Was it A, because it's just the right thing to do? In other words, you call 911, forget the Secret Service, and you just let them come and investigate. It's just the right thing to do. Or B, to out the Bidens, i.e. Hunter in particular. Why do you believe that 911 call was made? I'm just curious. A or B? I'm a strong B on this one. I think clearly people have had enough, and they're like, no, we're not cleaning up this guy's mess anymore. He's turning this place into a crack house. This is absolutely disgraceful, and enough is enough. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in Nancy, ER. You can also vote via our handle on Twitter, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in Nancy, ER. Harry in Chelmsford. Thanks for holding, Harry, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Harry. What's on your mind, my friend?
Good to be on. Well, I told you this before about Hunter, that, unless he gets in recovery, there's no chance of him being sober, and that crap is his. And whoever found it, they did the right thing, because who really knows what it could have been? We have enemies. This country has enemies, but 99% like you, it's Hunters. That's all I wanted to say.
I'm just curious, Harry. Mark Levin and others think that it may not be Hunter. They say, look, if you know the White House press corps, many of them are hardcore drug users. They say you look at White House staff members, many of them are hardcore drug users. That the dirty secret about Democrats is a lot of them like to use drugs, hard drugs, not just marijuana. They like crack, they like some heroin, they like the strong stuff. Do you think there's a real possibility maybe we're jumping the gun and that this could belong to someone in the White House press corps or someone who works in the West Wing? I'm just curious.
It's Hunter's.
Yeah. No, Harry, I'm with you, man.
All right, brother.
Thank you so much, Harry. The reason why is this, because if this was someone in the White House press corps, I don't know, they would have found this before. If someone is really using in the West Wing, this would have been found before. But now you've got Hunter. I mean, to me, I'm sorry, but 2 + 2 = 4. Hunter now starts to live at the White House. By the way, why is a grown man, what is he now, 55, 53, 54, whatever he is? So here you have a man in his 50s, and he's living with mommy and daddy. He's got a wife. He's got a 3-year-old child. He's got other children as well, but I'm talking now he's got a 3-year-old. And you got to live with mommy and daddy? Okay, but anyway, but let Mr. Multimillionaire, but let that go. Okay, let that go. And so he starts living at the White House. And Shazam, now they find a bag of cocaine? No. Nah, I'm sorry. No, I don't know. No, what a coincidence, huh? No, I don't believe it. 617-266-6868 is the number. Nick in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Nick, and welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Jeff? Something very interesting I found in the New York Post. It looks like there's a Derek Hines. He's the assistant prosecutor under Weiss. Okay, I'm looking at him as one of the main cogs for masterminding how Joe Biden would avoid the 2 tax charges and the gun charge, and also the elongating the case for about 5 years for some of the other charges to expire. His name is Derek Hines. He should have recused himself, this article basically infers later on, because he worked for Louis Freeh, FBI bum, who worked for Clinton primarily and a little bit for Bush. He went on...
Yeah, no, he was also a partner. Oh, you're right. He was a partner of Hunter Biden's. I mean, the conflict of interest, you're completely right, Nick. It's disgusting. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask all of you. The mystery of the cocaine now, forget in the White House, in the West Wing, found apparently, first they claimed it was in the library. That's what the fire department, the Washington, D.C. fire department said, that they found a bag of cocaine, or what they called white powder. Then they tested it quickly. It was cocaine. That this was in the library. Hunter Biden uses the library. That's where he brings his laptop. The story now has changed. They say it was found in a cubby in a storage facility in the West Wing. And that's where White House staff, people who visit the White House will leave their belongings occasionally. And so now the Secret Service apparently is doing an investigation, but they refuse to take fingerprints off the bag. Why? And there is video surveillance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of every square inch of the West Wing, of the storage facility, the cubby, everything around the cubby, the storage facility, everything in the library, everywhere. Yet nothing. Nothing. So I want to ask you, is this starting to smell like the Hunter Biden investigation, where after 5 years, 5, he ends up getting 2 tax misdemeanors and they essentially drop the gun charge? Anyone else, they'd be going to jail for many years. Hunter gets away with barely a slap on the wrist. Can they get away with it again? Or finally, will the American people say enough is enough? The White House is not a bordello. It is not a crack house. It is the people's house. 617-266-6868. Ken in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Ken, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi.
I've got two names to give you to explain this story. Gary Shapley, Yevgeny Prigozhin. There reaches a point when somebody stands up to corruption, and then another stands up to corruption, different country, and it becomes contagious. Others want to do the same because they put up with it for too long, watching it. Like, you think this has happened in the last week or two? Come on. He's been doing this for the whole 2 years they've been in their White House. That's now the White Substance House. It's really very simple. The story's not complicated. And the funny thing is, this may be the one that sticks. Here we have been talking all the corruption for 2.5 years. And the obvious, everybody knew the sun was on crack, may be the last straw. That those who've been defending say, I can't defend this on social media. And
well, Kevin, it's funny you should say that. Sorry, Ken, forgive me. Ken, it's funny that you should say that because the Biden defenders on social media, their last line of defense was, no, the Washington Post, the New York Times, they haven't corroborated that it's cocaine. No, it was a white powdery substance. No, it wasn't in the White House. It was near the White House. Well, then the Washington Post, under a lot of pressure to report the story from readers, finally said, yep, we spoke to the police, we spoke to the fire department, we spoke to the Secret Service. It's cocaine, yes, and it wasn't near the White House. It's in the White House. In fact, it's in the West Wing. And now, crickets. Crickets. They don't know what to... Have you noticed today not one liberal is called, Ken? Not one lib. They always defend Biden. They love Biden. No matter what he does, they defend. Today, they're not calling Ken. So this may be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
And effectively, think, what are the ladies at The View or the former Missouri senator going to say, because their line was, Hunter's gotten through his addiction, so isn't it wonderful? You know, it's only right that he get off on the crimes he's committed. Well, come on. Like he got over his addiction. Come on. Hello. They were just rubbing it in our face like a bunch of power-hungry mafia thugs. Both of them. We have all the evidence. Come on now, folks. Let's get real. Let's move on. And we're going to have President Harris. Won't be too long. And likewise, you're going to have a different replacement for Putin. It's that time of the year, or maybe of the century, where disruption is happening everywhere.
Ken, thank you very, very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is a really, really good email I got. Jeff, can I just counter your counter? Allow me, think of the scandal if anyone says someone other than Hunter brought in the cocaine. 1, the Secret Service is supposed to vet guests that visit the private areas. Are actual drug dealers getting access to the White House? Question mark. 3, if they let cocaine slip past them, why can't some terrorist or sympathizer smuggle in anthrax or sarin? 3 question marks. Bingo. This is why now it's a mess. If you're going to try to argue it's not Hunter's cocaine, it's not a member of the first family, could be White House press corps, could be a staffer, could be a guest. Well, what does this say about the Secret Service? Everybody's supposed to be vetted before they get into the West Wing. So what, the dogs aren't sniffing out the cocaine now? You guys aren't able to catch cocaine? So what, drug dealers are getting in? And, you know, if you can get in cocaine, what about anthrax? What about sarin? So the Secret Service has to ask themselves, how much of their reputation and credibility do they want to get destroyed and damaged in order to cover up for these criminal degenerates in the White House? That's now the question. 617-266-6868. Don't cover up for them. They're not worth it. If any of the Secret Service is listening, don't do it anymore. Save your honor and your professional integrity and just blow the whistle. Everybody knows what's going on. They're selling our country to the highest bidder. And Hunter is not just the bag man. He's also a crackhead, an addict, and a degenerate. And if he's doing cocaine in the White House, right underneath the noses of his father and mother, whatever, stepmother, then, I mean, it's an absolute disgrace. An absolute shame and an absolute disgrace. 617-266-6868. Tommy in West Virginia. Thanks for holding, Tommy, and welcome.
By the way, I have never been a member or affiliated with anybody of National Public Radio. Let me get that out first. Hey, I think everyone in the White House should be drug tested, and is anybody in the media asking that question?
That's a great question. You work in the private sector, Tommy. As you know, people are drug tested randomly all the time.
I know. I was a member of 103, the electricians union, and we always got drug tested, and if you ever got injured on the job, you would be immediately drug tested. And it wasn't a urine test. It was a swab test where they would put that down your mouth, and there was no way you could cover up a swab test. Absolutely not. You could not defeat that. And I honestly think someone in the White House has gotten fed up with Hunter's nonsense. And if it's not Hunter that brought in cocaine to the White House, as you just stated previously, it shows how the Secret Service is not doing their job. And unfortunately, we have a national media that's going to broom this under the closet. Now, here's one other thing with Hunter Biden and his gun charges. Delaware is a blue state, just like Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, if you own firearms, whether it be a handgun or a long gun, you are required by law to report that to the police within 24 hours of a missing weapon if you know your weapon is missing. That's a felony in our state, in Massachusetts. And I'm certainly sure it's the same thing in Delaware.
Yes.
And it takes 5 years to investigate that particular charge about Hunter?
Tommy, he should have gone to jail for years on the gun charges, years on tax fraud and evasion. They let him skate. Can he skate again? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, here is, a smoking text message. 917, Jeff. The relationship between cocaine and the White House is nothing new. Obama's self-described body man, Reggie Love, was commonly known among those close to Obama as not only his body man, but also his dealer. Obama was conspicuously absent from the Situation Room during Benghazi. It's speculated that Reggie's visit that night with his stash played a part in that absence, romping with Reggie while Benghazi burned. Of course, this story has been denied and deleted from most search engines. Well, look, I covered Obama extensively, and there were a lot of accusations, a lot of people who knew him. His own admission, by the way, in his own book, his autobiography, that he did cocaine for well over a year. And that he apparently liked to powder his nose. That this was well known. And these allegations continued right until he was, in fact, continued as he was president, and as he was in the White House. So, cocaine in the White House is nothing new. This is the post-Obama legacy now that we have to live with. As I said about Al Sharpton, from the crack house to the White House. Well, now under Biden and under Hunter, they've turned the White House into the crack house. 617-266-6868. Brenda in Easton. Thanks for holding, Brenda, and welcome.
Good morning.
Hi.
The minute that I heard that the White House had cocaine, I thought of something besides Hunter. Not that Hunter isn't doing it, but many times people laugh and say, what did they use to get the president going today? Well, they're using some kind of stimulant with the president to get him moving, and I have a feeling that it's the cocaine. And when you watch him speak, how many times do you see him touch his nose?
Well, Brenda, look, I have to say, I can't disagree with you. I mean, look, I think it's Hunter to be I have no evidence. Obviously, it's just circumstantial, a lot of circumstantial evidence. There's no smoking gun yet. But I look at the way the Secret Service is behaving. Why wouldn't they want to lift fingerprints off the bag of cocaine? We know there's video surveillance footage. The whole place, it's every millimeter, every centimeter is 24/7 video camera footage recording. So they could solve this in 24 hours. So I think it's pretty obvious they're covering up for someone very powerful. Now, back to what you said. I said that earlier as well in the 6 o'clock hour. I said I would not put it past Joe Biden. Now, if you look at Hunter Biden's life, whatever shell of a life he's had, he's always been the bag man for his father on everything. Influence peddling, pay to play, even when he's shaking down somebody, that text message to Henry Zhao, one of the top people at this huge firm in China. He goes, I'm sitting right beside my father, and if you don't give us the $5 million, I'm going to make life difficult for you, and he's going to make life difficult for you. So he's always been the bag man. Well, why just stop at money or corruption or bribery or influence peddling? Why not cocaine? I mean, he takes a lot of it himself, but I wouldn't be surprised if he procures it for his father, if his father's on cocaine. And we've been asking ourselves now for years, when his eyes are wide open like a beetle, and he's, for 2-3 hours, he's bouncing off a wall. And then he disappears for 3 or 4 days. He's crashed. He can't function for 3 days. What's he on? Cocaine could, that would answer a lot of questions. I mean, I don't know. Am I wrong, Brenda?
Came to my mind because I am annoyed when I watch him. So many times I say, why do you keep touching the side of your nose? I say it to the television. Why is he touching the side of his nose? I think that all shows you what's going on.
Well, what we now know for sure, Brenda, this is a trash family. I mean, this is real trash.
It scares me that there's going to be nothing left when he's finished.
Well, that's my fear as well. A guy like him should never have been anywhere near the nuclear button, anywhere near the White House, anywhere near. And the damage that they're doing now, day after day after day, it's irreparable. So, anyway, Brenda, thank you very much for that call. Look, to me, it's on the table. The way he behaves, his bizarre behavior, how sometimes for a couple hours he's jacked out of his mind. And then, and then other times he's, sometimes he's high as a kite. And then other times he's hit rock bottom. It's like he can barely get 2 words out of his mouth. It's the high, low, high, low, high, low, up, down, up, down, up, down. So there's something, they're obviously feeding him something. And eventually we're going to find out what it is. But, cocaine is a stimulant. You snort enough of that, man. Believe me. I mean, you'll be awake. You'll be awake. 617-266-6868. David in Woburn. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Good morning, Dr. Kuhner. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, David?
Fine, thank you, Doctor. I was just thinking how the drugs got in. I think a couple callers back talked about, the Secret Service and all the cameras and this and that. But these Russians, how they can get it into the White House? The Russians did it again, you think? You think that's going to be the narrative next?
Well, David, let me ask you. I mean, they would do that. I mean, they would. They're such stupid liars. They're so pathetic. But the problem would be why? To frame Hunter? Is that in other words, to try to get Joe and Hunter in trouble? So Putin did it?
That's Trump's fault,
That's right. Though they belong to Don Jr. They've just been sitting there all those years in the cubby.
Could have been, Doctor. Thank you. You have a good day.
Thank you very much, David. No, you're going to see the way they're going to try to defend this. Oh, it's true. Russia. This is Putin. This is Trump. They're his drugs. It's his cocaine. It's been sitting there for 2.5 years. You can't spin your way out of this one. 617-266-6868. Sandy in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Sandy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I've been listening to all the callers, and when I initially called in, I had said to Mike, isn't it supposed to be that Hunter Biden should be keeping his nose clean, and maybe it's time to sweep out clean house in the White House? And one of your callers had said something about the film The Assassin. Is it possible and unknown that maybe, just maybe, someone might be looking to take out Joey and Hunter using the drugs as a means to an end? And then there's the question, why was the bag found in this cubby? How many people in the White House know about that area? And you're right. Why has the Secret Service just refused to dust the bag? I think the answer is fairly simple. They know who it is.
Oh, it's no question. No question. Sandy looked like a detective, like Sherlock Holmes. You connected dot to dot to dot to dot. And using reason and common sense and evidence, I think you've come to our suspect. I think there's no question, to our culprit. Sandy, thank you very much for that call. Look, let's put our cards on the table. And, and then we can pivot to another topic. But let me just put our cards on the table. Hunter Biden has been doing drugs for years. We've got him on the laptop. There are tens of thousands of images. Doing cocaine, doing crack cocaine, with the hookers, breaking law after law. He's written a memoir where he admits that he's been high as a kite for most of his life. That, in fact, during the times he was supposed to be working for Burisma, he never was in Ukraine. He had nothing to do with Ukraine. By his own admission, for 6 months at a time, he went on bender after bender, where all he did was do mountains of drugs, cocaine, to the point that he was so desperate, he would snort Parmesan cheese off the floor, hoping that they had residues of cocaine. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, well, why is everybody paying him millions of dollars? Why are the Ukrainians paying, by this guy's own admission, at that very same time, someone who is a coke addict, who is banging prostitutes and can't leave his own apartment for 6 months at a time because he's always stoned and high? What value does he give to you? What does he bring to the table? He knows nothing about energy, nothing about Ukraine, nothing about business, nothing about China, nothing about oil, nothing about natural gas. He knows nothing. He's got one thing to sell. One. The only thing of value is old man. That's it. It's so obvious. I mean, come on, let's stop playing stupid. It's so obvious. So, now this guy, who, by the way, the Secret Service has been covering up for him now for years. The prostitutes, it continues. The women, it continues. The drugs, it continues. So he's living at $100,000 a month property in California. How he pays for that, I don't know, but let that go. And there are women coming and going, and there are drugs coming and going. So he's not clean and sober. He never has been clean and sober. So he comes up with this plea deal. His father basically and Merrick Garland bail him out. And it says, well, for 2 years, you have to be clean and sober. You got to be drug free for 2 years. This guy can't be drug free for 2 hours. Never mind 2 years. And now he moves into the White House with daddy and his stepmom. And he brings his wife and he brings his 3-year-old, Joe's grandkid, Bo. By the way, he's got a daughter from a stripper in Arkansas who he refuses to acknowledge and didn't even want to pay child support. And finally, when he was forced to pay child support, he refused to allow her to have his last name. He won't even acknowledge his own biological daughter. And neither, by the way, does Joe. That's the kind of scumbags that family is. What did that poor little girl do to anybody? Nothing. It's not her fault. Anyway, let that go. He now comes into the White House. And lo and behold, they find a bag of cocaine. Now, let me tell you, to me, the simplest explanation is usually the one that's correct. I think someone in the White House sees this guy doing lines in the library, doing lines in the Oval Office, doing lines all over the West Wing, and says, you know what, this is really disgusting. Like, this is sickening. This is degrading. And the Secret Service has to keep covering up for him. We're always covering up for him. And I'm sick of this. So we know where he hides his cocaine. It's in the cubby. That's where he stashes it. I'm going to call 911. I basically a whistleblower, a David Shapley. I've had enough. Or that FBI confidential informant. I've had enough. Enough. And now they're in a pickle. Because it's going to blow up the plea deal. It's going to blow up everything. Everything. So now the media has only one play left. Ignore the story. Suppress it. Bury it. Pretend that if people don't cover it, then the world will somehow forget about it. And again, have the Secret Service, like the FBI, like the Department of Justice, like the CIA, cover up the crimes of the Biden family. So that's why I'm putting a spotlight on it. I'm not going to let them get away with it. I hope others don't. And I hope we can continue to put enough pressure on the Secret Service for us to get to the truth. Because America needs to know the truth. We have criminals in the White House. And now they're doing cocaine in the White House. So There has to be a point, even liberals, even Democrats, even moonbats. Have you no shame? Have you no sense of decency at long last? What do they have to do until you finally say, I can't stomach this anymore? When is our national honor going to be so stained and violated? When are we going to be so humiliated that all of you are finally going to say, we made a mistake? It's time for Joe and his entire degenerate crime family to go. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, let me just take a few more calls and then we're going to pivot because I want to talk about the student loan. That was a huge ruling by the Supreme Court, and it's going to have a massive impact on the Biden administration and on all of our lives. But there's no question, this is a massive scandal. It's a massive scandal. It's leaking. Social media won't let it go. I won't let it go. Conservative talk radio won't let it go. And this one may be a bridge too far even for them, because now there are whistleblowers within the White House. So they're trying to cover up the information, suppress the information, but it's still getting out there. David in Ashland. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Jeff. Thank you for everything that you do. Yeah, my point is, we hear about this stuff all the time. What we have McCarthy, in Congress. He's basically sits there, does nothing. He's a big political nothing. And we need someone like a Pelosi, like a pit dog, someone that's going to make people accountable. We have Hunter and Biden sitting there in the White House, drugs, it affects your mental status. And he's running the country. They need to be drug tested, and Congress needs to go after them and not let the Secret Service and the FBI just sit on their hands. Congress needs to be more aggressive and make these people accountable. They're doing nothing.
I completely agree with you. You're absolutely correct. I would, if I'm President Trump, here's what I would do right now. I'd go on Truth Social and say, I demand that Joe Biden take a drug test. We need to know if the president is clean and sober. I want Jill Biden to take a drug test. And I want Hunter Biden to take a drug test. By the conditions of his plea deal, he must be drug free. Let's see if there's any cocaine in his system. And I guarantee you, I'll bet you anything you want. Hunter Biden takes a drug test, he fails. There's going to be more cocaine in his urine than urine. They're going to say, we've never seen urine this white before. That this is like there's more coke than there actually is urine, than pee. How did you do it, Hunter? So there's no way that this guy is not doing drugs. And then on top of that, and I'm just thinking as you were speaking, we're paying for all this. The White House, that's your house. That's my house. That's our home. That's the people's home. Presidents don't live there. They rent. It's temporary. We pay their salary, and we want them to live well. Of course, they're president of the United States, no question. They have to, accept foreign dignitaries and foreign heads of state and run the government. Of course, no problem. But that's for the president and the spouse. Why all of a sudden now we got to pay for their children? I'm sorry. Your son is what, 53, 54 years old? I mean, you as in Joe Biden. Your son is 53, 54 years old? He can't live on his own? No, he's not old enough now to pay his own rent and take care of his own wife and his own children? How much has he brought in? 40, 50, 60, 80, $100 million? We're now looking at $40 million unpaid in taxes. $40 million? And you can't afford a place to take care of yourself, your family, and your little 3-year-old? We got to foot the tab. We got to remember, he stays at the White House. We're paying for all of his meals, all of his, all of his boozing, all of his drinking, all of his partying, all of his trips, all of his flights, everything he does. It's all paid for by you and me. Why do we have to pay for the degenerate son? They're not little children. They're not even 21. He's 53. So, to me, Kevin McCarthy should come out and say, I'm sorry, there was a bag of cocaine found. I want everybody drug tested in the first family, and he's got to go. The American people should not be paying for Hunter Biden to stay at the White House. Visit once in a while, sleep over once in a while, sure. But live there like he's living there now? No, he's a big boy. He's stolen enough money. He's siphoned off enough money. I mean, he's millions in unpaid taxes. What are you talking about? The guy's a multimillionaire. So pay your own way. 617-266-6868 is the number. The text line is on fire. So let me just, Jeff, quote, this is from 508. Jeff, there are security cameras all over the White House, especially the West Wing, so they know who the cocaine belongs to. No question. Absolutely no question. And I think it's obvious if they don't want to tell us, it's not some White House staffer. It's not some member of the White House press corps, some journalist or reporter, or someone who's a cleaner or someone on the cleaning crew or the cleaning team. It's clearly very high up, probably the first family. No question about it. This is breaking right now from Newsmax. Newsmax now says that multiple officials at the U.S. Secret Service are telling them that the cocaine was found at that cubby in a storage facility, and that the cocaine was, quote, in a baggie. When it was discovered, it was not loose or concealed. So it was in a bag that somebody clearly had been using. Again, everything points to Hunter, but that's me. 617-266-6868 is the number. Should they all be drug tested? The entire first family? Joe, Jill, Hunter? And should Hunter be kicked out of the White House? Should we, the taxpayers, demand that we not continue to foot the bill, to put a roof over his head, and pay for 3 square meals, a chef, by the way, every day, and pay for Hunter to party, and party? 617-266-6868, because believe me, partying is all this guy does. One state dinner after another, one function after another, glass in hand, and look out, he hits the buffet table like nobody's business. Maria in Ludlow. Thanks for holding, Maria, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Maria?
I'm doing much better now. I wanted to let you know first and foremost that my baby did have his open heart surgery, Boston Children's, and everything went wonderfully, and he's finally home.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
That's great news, Maria. Phenomenal news.
God. Now to my next point. So, Hunter Biden, the crackhead, I don't understand how, with the guns and the videos of him doing weed, pot, cocaine, all this stuff, I wonder why the Department of Children's Services have not gotten involved. If it was anybody else, they would be knocking at their door to investigate. to make sure he was drug tested? The mother. If that children were being raised in a safe environment.
Maria, you're completely right. You're dead on. I mean, he gets pass after pass after pass. If this was you, if this was me, if this was anyone else, we would have lost our children and we would have been in jail for years, a long time ago. And Maria, this is, I said this to Grace last night. I said, how stupid, reckless, and irresponsible do you have to be? I mean, you're in your 50s now. Don't you realize, when your dad keeps cleaning up mess after mess, eventually you're going to get caught. And I thought, honestly, her answer was excellent. She said, Jeff, you don't understand. Everybody keeps cleaning up his mess. So why would he stop? You know what he's thinking now? So what? They found a bag of cocaine. My dad will clean it up. His people will clean it up. They'll clean this up, but they clean everything else up. And that's why they get away with things, the abuses of power, crimes. I mean, Maria, not that you would ever do this. If you were doing cocaine and doing crack and with male prostitutes at your house, filthy, disgusting, dirty, and you've got guns lying around and drugs lying around, there's no way DCF would allow you to keep your child. There's no way. No way. If you didn't pay millions of dollars in taxes, millions, you'd be in prison for years. If you illegally bought a gun and then dumped it off in a garbage can in a school zone, you'd be in jail for 5 years, bang, on the spot. On the spot. Your kid's gone. Gone. Foster system, DCF. With this guy, nothing. No, he's the victim. The media is like, oh, Hunter, oh, he's reformed his ways, Maria. It's the story of a father's love for his son. It's not all in the family. It's all in the Bidens, Maria. Hello, Maria. Did I lose Maria? Okay, well, anyway, Maria, great call. You made an excellent point. You're completely right. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I played this cut earlier. I want to play it again. You want to see the BS in action. So, the bull, you know what? The bull crap in action. So, someone within, it's a whistleblower, no question. Obviously sick of what's going on at the White House and what Hunter Biden is doing. And so they call 911. The hazmat team, the fire department, arrives immediately. Police are now on their way. Secret Service has now been triggered. And the White House spin machine, the press team, come out and say, hazardous white substance found. Could be anthrax. Who knows? White House under siege. And this white powdery substance was found near the White House, like on the White House lawn or whatever. Could be Trump supporters. Could be MAGA. Who knows? So, white supremacists. So they're desperately in spin mode. The hazmat team comes quickly. This is Sunday evening. Quickly, they evacuate the West Wing. Quickly, they send it in for testing. And right away, they call dispatch. This isn't a hazardous substance. This isn't anthrax. Bring everybody inside. Number one, it wasn't found near the White House. It was found in the White House, in the West Wing. Hell, in a cubby, in a storage facility. It's a bag of cocaine. It's coke. Listen now to the coded dispatch call saying we have found cocaine in the White House. Roll cut 33. Mike.
To repeat, I didn't copy your results on the Gemini.
Gemini's results are no match found with a red bar, no match found in the library. We'll go ahead back and come on up. First record has that we have a result on the Gemini. We have a yellow bar stating cocaine, hydrochloride, gas number 53-21-4.
Yep. That's Biden's White House. We got a yellow bar. Yeah, yellow bar. It's cocaine, hydrochloride. Now, it's positive. The only thing missing from the dispatch, that's Hunter's, huh? So he snorted the whole kilo and they were left with a little baggie, huh? How much did he take with him to Camp David over the weekend? That's what I'd like to know. So, as all of this is going on, now the White House has to admit, oops, okay, it's cocaine. Now, if you notice, if you heard the dispatch, they said it was found in the library. Now, I'd love to know why the Secret Service is changing that description. Because the fire department says this bag was found in the library, which apparently Hunter has been using with his laptop. That is conclusive. There are many witnesses saying, no, he uses the library, he's on his laptop. So that would draw extra suspicion to Hunter. Instead, it's Cubby storage facility. So I'd like to know why the fire department, who were first on the scene, are saying it was the library. Now they've changed it to Cubby storage facility in the West Wing. I just want to know. I want that clarified. 617. Or are they trying to change the story to try to protect and cover up for Hunter? 617-266-6868 is the number. Holly on the South Shore. Thanks for holding, Holly, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you today?
Good. Hey, it's good not to be Hunter. I'll tell you this. You know, Holly, you come to my house, you're not going to find a bag of cocaine. I'm just saying.
The thing is I'm sick and tired of hearing day in and day out that the things that these people are doing wrong, because you know as well as I do, if this was any of us, we'd be in jail right now. If any of us were found with cocaine, it was stashed in our houses, we'd be in prison right now. This guy is being protected, and I'm getting tired of listening to this day in and day out. Nobody's doing a thing. You know what? The only time something will ever be done now is if people take to the streets and they open their mouths and they say enough is enough. These people need to be removed from office, and they need to do it by we the people, because it's not going to be done by the people who are running this country.
Holly, not that this would ever happen to you, because I know, and I can just tell by your voice, you're obviously a decent, law-abiding, tax-paying, hard-working American. But just for the sake of argument, please indulge me. You have a laptop. You accidentally drop your laptop off at a computer workshop, a repair shop. And on that laptop, it's Holly doing line after line after line of cocaine, smoking crack, male prostitutes, 10, 15, Russian male prostitutes, 10, 15, $20,000 a pop. We know because you're giving them cash on the videos. Child pornography on your laptop. A family member, niece, nephew, minor, underage, in a very sexually suggestive position right near you as you are completely naked. Tell me, does Holly go to jail? Or is Holly given a slap on the wrist? And they say, you know, Holly, just lay off those drugs for 2 years, pay a small fine, and everything will just go away. So, Holly, do you think they would just tell you pay a small fine, say you're sorry, and be sober for 2 years, clean and sober? Or do you think, Holly, you'd be spending, several decades in jail?
Never mind about the several decades. We'd be in jail for the rest of our lives. They'd find a way to put us away. And you know what? It's a two-tiered justice system. I'm tired of people saying that. The rules that apply to us need to apply to them, and we need to start enforcing that. And you know what? The other thing I'm really upset about is that there was a movie that came out this weekend, The Sound of Freedom, and no one seems to be mentioning that. That's a huge problem worldwide, let alone in this country.
And the number one facilitator is Joe Biden. Child sex trafficking, child trafficking. Who's opened up the southern border? Him. Who's aiding and abetting the Mexican drug cartels? Him. Who's the one that under his watch, 85,000 children, illegal immigrants, children, have now disappeared and been sold into slavery in the United States alone? Him. Whose son has child pornography? Him. Who's the one whose own daughter left behind a diary to be found, obviously, where she says repeatedly, my father had inappropriate showers with me at the age of 11 and 12 years old? Him. Joe Biden. And now there's cocaine in the White House. So I got to ask you, again, not that you would ever do it, Holly, if you had inappropriate showers with your 11, 12-year-old daughter, if you were child sex trafficking, if they found bags of cocaine in your house, tell me, do you think they'd be saying, oh, poor Holly? This is a story about her and the love of her children and how much she loves her kids. And it's a story of redemption. Holly, redemption. She redeemed herself. Or do you think Holly would be in handcuffs and behind bars?
There would be no redemption for anybody who's not the Biden crime family or anybody who's in any part of our government, because anybody who anybody who is doing what they do would never be held accountable for the things that they do. And it's not right. Everybody should be held to the same standards. If anybody did, aided and abetting any crimes, or if they committed the crimes themselves, everybody should be held accountable the same way.
Amen. Amen. Holly, thank you very much for that call. Really good call. Ronnie in Boston. Thanks for holding, Ronnie, and welcome.
Jeff, thank you so much, as always, for taking the call. I want to answer your first question first. Why did they change the narrative from the West Wing Library to the Cubby? Because it creates the possibility to suggest that maybe a cleaning person or multiple people had access to a, storage cubby, as opposed to an exclusive library where only an extremely small amount of people have access to. You follow me, Jeff? So it just opens up the suggestion that, oh God, a ton of people could have put it there. It's a cubby. It's a storage space with tons of access from tons of people. But what I really want to get to, Jeff...
Ronnie, can you do me a favor? I'm up against it. I don't want to rush you. We're going to go right back to Ronnie. He's going to continue his call. Okay, let's go right back to Ronnie in Boston. Ronnie, you made the brilliant observation. They had to change the location of the bag of cocaine from the library in the West Wing, which very few people have access to a cubby in a storage facility, so you can spread out a little bit the possibility of suspects. Please pick up where you left off, Ronnie.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And holding people over like this when you're up against a break is a very generous feature of this show. So thank you so much. We all really appreciate it, Jeff. But the bigger point I wanted to make is that this is the same party that preaches to everyone that no one is above the law. This is the same party that preaches to everyone about gun control, the same party that preaches to everyone about the patriarchy, toxic male privilege, and no single family in this country embodies all of that more than the Bidens. How do the Democrats get out there and talk about the patriarchy while simultaneously cheering as Hunter Biden escapes on gun charges? And how do you credibly talk about gun control after that? How do you credibly talk about no one being above the law when our government does everything humanly possible to shield this family from so many crimes? How do you possibly lecture the American people about privilege, about toxic male privilege, when you have Exhibit A, Hunter Biden, receiving pass after pass after pass? I'll tell you right now, Jeff, demanding a drug test is a fool's errand, because I can tell you right now that all the people you'd want tested are drying out as we speak. So they will test one. The only way to get accountability here is to throw the exact same language and arguments of the left right back in their faces right here. And you let the enraged leftist base clean all this up, all this toxic masculinity, all this privilege, all this patriarchy, all this no one being above the law crap. And yet you look at the Bidens and they're Exhibit A for all of it. How does a Democrat possibly campaign on any of these issues after this? How?
I mean, you're on fire. Ronnie, you're absolutely on fire. Ronnie, I want to ask you now the obvious follow-up question. There's clearly someone within the White House who's blowing the whistle, that they are or else we never would have found out about this. So just for the sake of argument, they can't clean up this mess again. They just can't. After a while, you can't do it. So the bag of cocaine, they finally admit, okay, it belongs to Hunter. What happens then?
Well, boy, isn't that the $1 million question, Jeff? Which is why they will never do that, Jeff. They will never admit that belongs to Hunter Biden. They will never admit, where it was actually found. We're just going to get pure spin on this, Jeff. But you can bet that all these Democrat power players are huddled in a room somewhere going, this is a bridge too far and we know it. This corpse is way too big to bury and we know it. We need to come up with an exit strategy for this, and we're all going to find out together what that is, Jeff, because we're not going to get any details from this media that is completely committed to shielding this corrupt family.
Ronnie, what about the Republicans? Can't Kevin McCarthy come out? I know Trump will do it, I guarantee it. But can Kevin McCarthy, why can't he come out and say, we know every area of the West Wing has 24/7 surveillance video footage. There's not a centimeter, there's not a security camera which is recording. So we can find out who the culprit is within 5 hours. So why won't McCarthy come out and say, fingerprint the cocaine bag, tell us whose fingerprints are on it, show us the tape. You have the tape, show us the tape. They've got Biden by the tonsils. Why won't they squeeze?
Well, it's fascinating that you bring that up, Jeff. Fascinating. Because when you think about it, Republicans may end up being the only escape strategy for Democrats, simply for the fact that they do not have the backbone or the spine to pursue forward. And I'm telling you, Jeff, when they find something like this in the White House and you've got them dead to rights, you've got their own language completely turned on its head against them, and you still can't rally the Republicans to stand as a unified front and clean this up, that kind of cowardice will resonate with the American public even worse than what Biden just did. That'll resonate even worse than finding this stuff in the White House, is Republicans being too cowardly to press the issue and demand accountability. That's what will bail the Democrats out, is Republican cowardice. And I hate to say it.
You're dead on. Ronnie, I wish I could disagree with you. I can't. 617. Now, remember I had Jim Jordan on a while back? What is it, a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, a month ago maybe now? And I said, and you could sense the frustration in my voice. What does Joe Biden have to do to get impeached? Like, what is it? What has he got to do for you guys to get off your rear ends and finally hold him and his corrupt crime family accountable? A bag of cocaine, that won't do it now? Like what? So he's doing lines off the bust of Teddy Roosevelt? Like that? No, that's not enough for you? So what is it? No, really. Molesting children in the White House? Would that do it? You know, is that it? Or does everybody do it now? Is that going to be the new Democrat excuse? 617-266-6868. Joanne in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Joanne, and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Professor Kuhner. I'm not sure if that. I've been listening for many years and listening to the audience. They're the greatest. And I don't understand why a mother wouldn't educate a child. She's a doctor, isn't she? Jill Biden?
Well, I mean, that's the
I'm a
joke.
nurse. My children work. And they have
no,
to
but Joanne,
children.
I mean, that's the joke about her. She wants to be called a doctor, but her degree is in education. And and she's come, I mean, look, I don't want to poo-poo her, but I'm just saying she has let's put it this way. If she wasn't married to Joe Biden, she wouldn't have a PhD today. But she has a doctorate in education, and she insists that she must be called doctor. So, but anyway, no, I mean, Joanne, you need to know this. She was the babysitter. When Joe Biden was married to his first wife, she was the babysitter. She was the underage babysitter. And he had an affair with Jill Biden before his wife died. By the way, she caused the car crash, the first wife. She was drunk. She was driving under the influence. And Joe Biden later lied and said that his first wife was killed by a drunk driver. No, the only one that was drunk was her, and she caused the accident. I'm not saying she deserved to die. Don't get me wrong, please, no. But the point is he completely lied. And he was having an affair on his first wife with his underage babysitter. It was statutory rape. She was underage. He likes them young, very young. And that is Jill Biden. So that's to show you how the media has tried to polish and glossy up this family, airbrush this family. So that's the nature of their relationship. So Hunter Biden, it's come out in the laptop, can't stand Jill Biden. The other kids can't stand Jill Biden, and she can't stand them. I'm sorry, Joanne. Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I don't like
Please,
Jill Biden.
please.
I don't know any woman who does. My friends are nurses and doctors and nurse practitioners. They don't like her. They don't like me either. My friends are strong women. They like strong women and strong men of integrity. Oh, that's my mother calling. I'll call her later.
This is more important, right, Joanne?
It is. Yes, it is. And my mother would agree because she is a proud patriot of Boston, Massachusetts, highly educated, her 80-year-old self, too.
Joanne, I've got to ask you. Joanne, God bless you. I've got to ask you. You know, this is your son. This is your husband. He's got dementia. This stepson is a crackhead degenerate who's getting the family now. I mean, he's turned the family into butter jokes. Why won't the wife of Joe Biden, the stepmother of Hunter Biden, step in and say, enough? For the dignity of our family, enough. I mean, Joanne, really, everyone says she's like a Lady Macbeth. She craves power so much. Is it now to the point that she's willing to risk utterly humiliating her family?
Let her. It'll all come out. It's, 18 months away from the election? Let her do it. Go ahead, Jill. Go ahead. Take us on. Mothers of America will not like her, will they?
I'm with you. Joanne,
yes, I'm with you, too.
Joanne, I think mothers look at this and say, this is one sleazy, degenerate family.
Brought up to respect people and respect the country that I was born in and respect the people that came here and worked hard, like you and your beautiful wife and your beautiful family.
Joanne, thank you so much for your call. I really appreciate it. 617. She's completely right. I mean, the country's looking now in disgust. And the media knows it. That's why they're like, we can't let this story out. If the story is out, that there's a bag of cocaine found in the White House, the whole country's going to say Hunter. I mean, no one's stupid. They're Hunter. And then they're going to say, so everything they've been telling us is a lie? Everything? There is no road to recovery. There's no redemption. They've been playing us for fools since day one. By the way, the plea deal goes boom. The plea deal is over. So Hunter's going to end up going to jail. So Joe Biden's got a problem because if his son goes to jail, I don't think he can rely on Hunter to keep the family secrets. He's going to roll on the old man. He's going to turn around and say, well, if I give you the big fish, the big guy, will you give me immunity? That's the problem now they have. 617-266-6868. Bruce in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Bruce, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Hope you had a good week.
I had a very nice 4th of July. I hope you did too, Bruce.
4th of July, Independence Day. Yeah, so I got a kind of a kick out of you suggesting that that everybody volunteer for a drug test, because when they would say, how do you feel about a drug test? And they'd all say, oh, we'll test anything you got. It's unbelievable what's going on there. It shouldn't be going on there. What's going on when Obama was...
Hello, Bruce? Bruce? Okay, you're saying maybe we lost him? Bruce, for some reason, we've lost connection with you. Or you're in a bad zone. Bruce, try to call us back and we'll get you back on, okay? 617-26, because you just died. Your phone just died on us. 617-266-6868. This is from 617. Jeff, they're going to ask Hunter, do you do cocaine? His answer, no, but I can smell it. Bill in Taunton. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
I love your show. I love you. I find it hard to believe that you're still on the air, that you're so courageous, to be honest with you. It's like the eighth miracle of the world that you're still on the air. But your audience needs to realize it's not Democrat, Republican. Everybody is waiting for the Republicans to step up. You got to realize it's good versus evil. That you're either compromised or blackmailed or you're not. I mean, people are placed into positions. Do you think AOC and Swalwell were groomed for their position? It happens in every single state. You cannot define this whole thing by party. Again, it is good versus evil. You're either in or you're out. Do you think Mike Pence is a Republican? He is working for the deep state. People got to stop waiting for these Republicans to step up. It's not going to happen. It's very plain. It's good versus evil.
Oh, you're dead on.
Everybody's either.
No truer words. No, I got to say, Bill, I mean, just to pay back the compliment, you said, hey, thanks for your courage. Well, Bill, thank you for your courage, because you're saying something that many people are thinking and very few people have the courage, the guts to say. Look, you're right. It's not Republican versus Democrat. We crossed that Rubicon a long time ago. It's the uniparty versus us, versus the people. And you're right. It's good versus evil. Or the way I prefer to phrase it, you may disagree with me, is the globalists versus the patriots. Or it's the swamp versus us. And you're right. Most Republicans are in the swamp. They're as complicit, as evil, as corrupt as the Democrats, and that's why they won't do anything. I mean, it's so obvious now. And that's our problem. Our problem is now we have a corrupt establishment that is protecting themselves, and it's the Democrats and the establishment Democrats, the establishment Republicans, and they are now the ruling class. And you're right. That's why McCarthy is silent. That's why McConnell is silent. That's why Romney is silent. That's why Lindsey Graham is silent. They're all silent. And I bet if you dig deep enough, either they have the exact same skeletons in their closet or of their children. So everything we're criticizing Joe Biden or Obama about, whether it's pay to play, corruption, bribery, influence peddling, using countries to line their pockets and selling American policy, or drugs in the family, or addiction, or whatever it is. They're all, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, I could go family by family, the Bushes, you can go, the Cheneys, you go family by family by family. And it's like what Rush said. One's got a D, one's got an R, and okay, for a couple of years you run the committees, then for a couple of years we run the committees. It's all one big shell game. And the people they're screwing is you and me, Bill.
I couldn't agree with you more, Jeff. I think, people have been called conspiracy theorists for years, but, John F. Kennedy was a Democrat. And, it's all come out now that, he may have been assassinated by his own government. And, I think it goes back to that day that this all started. And I don't want to sound like I'm crazy, but I think, I'm in my 60s, and I've kind of woken up over the last 2 or 3 years, and I feel like we kind of all exist down here on the ground, but there is a massive plan going on right now that we're not aware of, and it's been going on for many, many years. I don't know if we'll ever know the truth, but if we ever do, I think it's going to be really hard for some people to fathom what has happened here. And again, I just don't feel like it's a party thing. It is, you're in, you're out, you're good, you're evil. It's either, I don't even feel like everybody's corrupt. I feel like people may have gotten into office and they were blackmailed, or their kids were blackmailed, or something happened to them. They may have gone in with all good intentions. And, when somebody tells you that you don't do this or you don't do that, somebody in your family is going to be harmed, you got to do it, right? So I'm not saying everybody's evil, but you're in that cesspool for one reason or another. And I think a lot of people are waking up and starting to see this now, but it's scary. And I don't know if it can be unwound, to be honest with you.
Well, Bill, the problem with the system, you're making excellent points. The problem with the system is it's unsustainable. This is why, to me, it has eerie similarities to communism. So they seem invincible, but it's so rotten and so corrupt, and it'll just collapse. And if you notice, Bill, look, how do I say, there's cracks now everywhere. I mean, we know a lot now about the Bidens. We know a lot now about Hunter. We know a lot now about the Obamas. We know a lot now about the Bushes and the Cheneys and the McConnells. And so we're finding out more and more and more and more. And, you can always tell the ones who are complicit, compromised, and those who aren't by how they speak. So, I look at Trump and I go, he's not bought off. You look at Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I disagree with him on some issues, but he's not bought off. I mean, he's just not. The man is not co-opted. He's not compromised. He's a patriot. So you can look, there are some people you can just tell that they either will not be blackmailed or they can't be blackmailed. And their light just shines. And now they don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know, Bill, I don't know if you've seen the latest numbers. Now Robert F. Kennedy is at 40% in New Hampshire. Democrats are now privately admitting, Politico broke this story over the weekend, Joe Biden may lose New Hampshire to RFK. He may lose it. If you remember Lyndon Johnson in 68 with Eugene McCarthy, McCarthy didn't even win New Hampshire. He just got 40% of the vote. And a couple of weeks later, Lyndon Johnson said, I'm not running anymore, because it was seen as such a rebuke. So you can see now there's an insurgency. The people are getting it. They're starting to get awake. And they've awakened a sleeping giant. Bill, all we got to do is keep exposing, shedding more sunlight, more sunlight, more sunlight, like this bag of cocaine. Everything they're telling us is a lie. Nothing makes sense. And we're just going to keep exposing it until the whole system comes crashing down. Truth is the most powerful weapon in the world. We have it. Let's speak it. Bill, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. And I got to tell you, it does remind me a little bit of the late stages of communism. Soviet Union, Eastern Europe. It's like they're tired. They're stale. They're transparent. It's like, nah, your lies used to be better. Like, how do I say? It's just the regime is starting to run out of gas. You can see there's an exhaustion setting in. It's like too many holes in the dam. They just can't plug all the holes anymore. So let's just keep pushing until we burst the dam wide open. Okay, text line on fire. This is from 917 Jeff. It's like the game of Clue. It was Hunter in the library with the bag of Coke. This is from 617 Jeff. Even Scooby-Doo could figure this mystery out. It was Hunter. So really, honestly, I mean, maybe we should send Joe Biden the game board Clue. As Joey, I think you can figure this one out, Joey. Jeff, by the way, this is a brilliant one, 781. Jeff. If Hunter goes to jail, he will be going through withdrawal. He would say anything for a hit of cocaine or crack. They could dangle that bag in front of him and ask for all the secrets, and he would spill the beans. This is so serious, Jeff. I fear he may be suicided. Well, to me, it's, if they can't cover this up, and more begins to dribble out and dribble out and dribble out, if something happens to Hunter, I would not be shocked. I'm not saying I want it to, quite the opposite. But, in fact, I want him to spill the beans because he knows where all the bodies are buried. But if something would happen to Hunter, I would not be surprised. That's how the Dems roll. 617-266-6868. Bruce, we got him back in Woburn. Bruce, you were talking about you had a great 4th of July, and then we lost you. What do you make of all of this? The bag of cocaine found in the West Wing. Do you believe it belongs to Hunter Biden? And can the Secret Service cover it up? Or is it now just too much? A bridge too far?
Well, Jeff, I'm going to tell you something right now. I believe it was Hunter's. And I'll be honest with you, a $300 bag of dope doesn't bother me with these dopes. I want to know about the tens of millions of dollars that they've gotten from Ukraine, from China, these are the more important things. I don't care. I hope they all OD on fentanyl for all I care. I'm just tired of the lies, and they twist things around and throw in these little curveballs just to get our minds off of the real important issues. And now that there's a bunch of shootings that went on, and it's all bad people.
So you take away the guns from the good people and let them have all the drugs they want. Everything's legal almost. Hunter gets away with murder, hides guns, the whole 9 yards, Jeff. It's just one big twisted a web that they're weaving, and it's just unbelievable. I want to know where all that money went. We all deserve to know where that money went. It should have gone not to them, not even to anybody in this country from those people. We shouldn't be giving our money to Ukraine. We shouldn't have nothing to do with China. And I'll be honest with you, I'm for Russia. I want to go fishing and hunting with Putin. That's how I feel. Can you believe that, Jeff?
Well, Bruce, look, I got to tell you, you can say what you want about the vozhd, as they call him, the boss in Russia. There's no cocaine in the Kremlin. No, I'll tell you this, that stuff doesn't fly with Putin. And, yes, he's a brutal guy, no question. He's a strong man, no question. But you don't sell out Mother Russia to China. You don't sell Mother Russia out to Ukraine. Not his family. I'm not saying they're not crooks. Yes. But you don't sell your country down the river. In other words, even those gangsters in Eastern Europe have red lines and limits you just don't cross. With this Biden crime family, there are no limits. None. Now, they're snorting cocaine off the bust of Theodore Roosevelt, if this is true. I mean, there's a certain point where we say, look, this is beyond disgusting. This is now blasphemous. It's politically blasphemous. You're not going to turn the White House into the crack house. So we'll see if the Democrats will defend this. We'll see. My prediction, yes. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter when Dems are caught, it doesn't matter what the crime is. They defend. They will defend anything, including this. Bruce, thank you so much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Denise in Peabody. Thanks for holding, Denise, and welcome.
I hope you had a nice 4th of July.
I did. Thank you, Denise. Denise, what do you make of all this?
Oh, my God. Jeff, can I say something, please? Listen, I'm a mother of an addict, okay? So my son, I'm saying he's doing great. He's been out a year. He's doing awesome. He's got a great job, everything. I just wanted to say that. But I stuck by him. But I wrote a book. It's called Addiction, the Bureau of Prisons, and a Mother's Broken Heart. And I do put Hunter in there in the end of the book. Now, I'm really upset that this man is getting away with everything that, I spent 10 years of my life not with my kid, okay? And because he had a possession of a firearm, which he was set up by the marshals with another junkie setting him up, whatever. It was just a possession of firearm. First time ever. He never got caught with tons of drugs or anything like this. But, Class A drug is the harshest sentences you can get. You know what I mean? It's the most. And I can't understand, like Hunter's lawyer said, he said, because of his addiction, we're going to make a plea deal. But what about my son's addiction? Heroin.
Denise, we're up against it. Hang on. We're going to come right back to Denise. Okay, super quick reset. I want to go then right back to Denise. The mystery now of cocaine in the White House. They have found a bag of cocaine. Somebody within the White House, clearly a whistleblower, called 911, asked for the fire department, not the Secret Service, but the fire department to come. They came, hazmat situation possible, white powder. Quickly, however, they debunked that. They said, no, we've tested it. This is clearly cocaine. It was found in a bag. The fire department and the police initially said this was in the library in the West Wing, which Hunter Biden uses frequently on his laptop. He's now essentially moved in with his wife and his 3-year-old son. Now the Secret Service has changed the story, saying they found it in a cubby in a storage facility, but still in the West Wing. Is this Hunter's bag of cocaine? And is the White House desperately trying to manipulate and control the Secret Service to cover it up? Denise had a son, or has a son, who battled addiction, and yet when he was caught with a firearm, or planted, as she put it, they threw the book at him. Let's go right back to Denise. Denise, if Hunter Biden was treated the way your son was treated, would Hunter Biden be doing jail time?
He'd be doing jail time, okay? You know, a Class A drug is a harshest sentence, okay? I know this for all the experience of my life with my son. And Hunter is getting away with this, and I don't understand it, why. I've been calling Congress every day. I'm fighting this like to the end. I can't stand it. It makes me sick to my stomach, because everybody in that White House, that Class A, that possession of that heroin in that White House, it doesn't matter. It's still possession of a drug. And they should be doing something about this ASAP. And I'm beside myself with this. And Pelosi says no one's above the law. Well, why are they above the law?
You know, to me, that's the issue of our time. And that's the issue, really, that Trump is running on. You know, we can call it the swamp, the ruling class, the uniparty, the globalists, the Washington cartel. It's a class of people. They're like modern day aristocrats. They believe they're above the law. That they can, and it's all about power and control and wealth. And that they can do anything and never be held accountable. And yet they drop the hammer on peasants like you and me. That's honestly nothing. It's like history repeating itself for thousands of years. That's what this is. And you know, Denise, what makes my blood boil is I've known people, yeah, they've had addiction issues. By the grace of God, there go I. And they've cleaned themselves up. Many of them found religion, to be candid. They found God. Others didn't. But they got into a real rehab program. They got really clean, really sober, and they turned their life around. And God bless them. I believe, look, I'm a Christian. I believe in second chances. I believe in forgiveness. I believe in redemption. But when I look at this degenerate in the White House, who's committed crime after crime after crime, and let's be clear, Denise, whatever your son did in terms of addiction or drugs or a firearm that he was planted with or possessed or whatever, he never sold our country down the river. He never sold us out to foreign powers. He never committed treason. He never had people killed. He never gave away our state secrets and the most classified top secret information so he and his father can make out like bandits. He never did anything like that. And yet that punk, Hunter Biden, gets away with crime after crime after crime. And then the latest one, gun in a garbage can in a school zone, illegally purchased, illegally possessed, hasn't paid taxes, millions of dollars, millions. And this guy won't even spend a second behind jail. And they say, well, he's clean and sober. And he's got to be just clean and sober, drug-free for 2 years. And this guy couldn't even make it 2 weeks. The ink on the plea deal isn't even dry yet, Denise. And already now they found a bag of cocaine? And Hunter is laughing in our face? And Joe Biden is laughing in our face? No. Enough is enough. Your son is a million times better than Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden couldn't lick your son's shoes. He couldn't shine your son's shoes. I'm just going to be candid with you. But your son is the one that goes to jail for years? It's disgusting. It's despicable. Hello, Denise.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
My son went into a federal prison too, a high max USP pen. I mean, the kid never heard a soul in his life. Okay. And, but the withdrawals from cocaine is a lot less severe than a heroin addict. Opiates are worse. And when you're on coke, you know exactly what you're doing because you're wide awake. Your eyes are as big as a quarter. And when you're high on like opiate, like my son was a heroin addict, I mean, they're all mush. Their brains mush. They're nodding out. They're just going to sleep half the time. You know what I mean? So Hunter Biden deserves to go to jail for this. And I'm going to fight Congress every day. I call every day. I call every one of the Democrats. And I am sick of this. I call Kevin McCarthy's office. These people aren't getting away with this. I'm sorry. Not what I've been through for 10 years. No way.
Denise, I got to ask you this. I got a lot of people texting. We've had a few calls, but a lot on the text line saying, what if the bag is Joe Biden's? In other words, just super quick. Hunter Biden, we know this. He's the bag man for Joe Biden. Everything. Corruption, bribery, influence peddling. Well, look at Joe Biden. You said your eyes are like a quarter. You take cocaine, you're like wide awake. It's just like it's a super stimulant. And we've been asking ourselves now for the last couple of years, what the hell is this guy on? Because at times he's he's dead. He's dead man walking, no energy, can barely put a thought together. And then all of a sudden he's bouncing off the walls. And he's got beetle eyes. Like they're just, they don't even wink. They're just like wide open. Like for 20 minutes. It's the most bizarre thing. Denise, is it possible? Has Joe Biden, has he been using blow? Is that one of the things they use to keep this guy going? Is that possible, Denise?
So I absolutely think so. Because there's no way in hell this man can even make it through the day without something.
Interesting. Well, they got him on something. There's no question. They're shooting him up. There's no question. The question is, what are they giving him? Denise, God bless you and God bless your son. Thank you so much for that call. I really appreciate it. And I hope your son continues his recovery. 617-266-6868 is the number. Peter in Connecticut. Thanks for holding, Peter, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you, Peter?
I just wanted to call because I just wanted to get, I'm a retired police officer. I had 34 years on the job. And I want to put it in a perspective that maybe people that are not in law enforcement would look at this. And if you're in law enforcement and the Secret Service, supposed to be one of the elite premier protective agencies in the world, if they're finding what they believe is an unknown substance in the White House, they're going to treat it as a crime scene. All right. Now, the fire department obviously is going to respond. Fire department is the lead agency when it comes to dealing with any of a hazmat spill or any type of unknown substance that could be a danger. So you can bet right now Secret Service isn't saying anything, and you wait and see. All right, this is going to come out. They'll be covering it up. But you think about this: if they're going to treat this like a crime scene, they're going to do. Don't you think they're going to do like they're going to look at the bag or whatever it was and see if they can get fingerprints or some evidence on where the bag came from and who possibly left it there? So this is being treated as a crime scene.
Now, this is what I want to ask you. I'm so happy you called, Peter. What the Secret Service is now saying, now they may change their mind, but this is what they've said now. They don't want to lift fingerprints off the bag of cocaine. They're saying we're not going to lift any fingerprints. And everyone's like, why not? I'm like, well, that's what I want to ask you. Why would they not want to lift the fingerprints? And number two, there is video surveillance footage. That thing has got that place has cameras everywhere. So if the Secret Service was really conducting a proper, thorough, if you were conducting this investigation, would you fingerprint the bag and would you look at the video surveillance footage?
Bob, I mean, the bottom line is you have policy and procedures, and every major law enforcement agency has a policy and a procedure on how to handle something like that. Now, the agency that I worked at, and it was a large agency. If you get in there and you were the investigating officer, okay, there's going to be a crime scene team that's going to come in there, and they're going to be doing everything to identify and deal with what they think is going to happen here. And I can't answer that question why they wouldn't basically look at the bag or whatever the container was, and why they wouldn't lift prints on it. And I don't even know why they would even say that, because I did not hear that.
Peter, is there any reason for law enforcement not to get fingerprints off the bag? Or is this unusual? Is this not proper procedure?
I would think that, and I'm not speaking for the Secret Service, but the agency that I work for, there would be a policy and a procedure on handling or dealing with a hazmat scene or an unknown substance. So I can't answer that. It doesn't sound right to me.
I'm sorry, it doesn't sound what? Can you repeat that?
It does not sound right to me.
Yeah, no, it smells. No, there's no question, Peter. That's why everybody's now buzzing. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, many of you are texting in and emailing the Kuhner Man. You can text us, by the way, 70470, 70470. And many of you are making the obvious point that cocaine does tremendous damage to your heart. I mean, especially if you use it over the long term, I mean, it really, it ravages your heart. And my question is, with all of the crack and all of the cocaine that Hunter Biden has been using for years, I mean years, how is this guy still standing? If I did 1/10 to my body what Hunter Biden has done to his, I would have been dead. Really, with my metabolism, my system, I would have been dead years ago. What's keeping this guy afloat? That's what I want to know. 617-266-6868. Annie in Chelsea. Thanks for holding, Annie, and welcome.
Oh, hello.
Annie.
Greetings from the #1 party city of Chelsico. Jeff, I love you in a non-sexual way. Jeff, I know how that bag of cocaine got into the White House. It was the Puff the Magic Dragon.
Some of you are saying UPS looks like they're going to go on strike. So Hunter needed to order a 3-month supply. He just says, give me a rush delivery before they go on strike. I think 3 months should be about good enough. 617-266-6868. Frank in Waltham. Thanks for holding, Frank, and welcome.
Good morning, Kuhnerland. I hope you all had a good, happy 4th of July. There is no way that cocaine could get into the White House. It had to be an inside job. Who is the biggest drug dealer in the world? The President of the United States, the CIA, Obama, the FBI. They probably intercepted a couple of shipments of cocaine, hid it in the bottom of the White House for their defense fund. Now, the hound dog, Mr. Nosebag, found the cocaine, decided to have a little party. Now, my question is, why didn't the National Guard get called out and lock it down? And search it, and they probably would have found the cocaine down in the bunkers down below, probably all the way up to the ceiling, and say, hey, look at this stuff, and that would end everything. I just don't understand this crap. I mean, how does cocaine get into the White House? It's an inside job. You can't get anything in that White House. And, hey, they probably figured, the cartel, we got to get a few free shipments. We get it for nothing. And they got enough money now to buy everybody off. The Congress, the CIA, news media, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry. What do you say on that one?
Well, that's a very interesting theory, Frank. I got to tell you, what we now know about the CIA and what we know about how our own government is complicit in running drugs into our own country, never mind human trafficking, never mind child trafficking. And that's why I want to talk about that movie Sound of Freedom. But This story is just so huge. I wouldn't put anything past him anymore, Frank. And you're right with that. Would Hunter? If there's cocaine within 100-mile radius, he can sniff it. He can sniff it, and he attacks. Thank you for that call, Frank. 617-266-6868. You know, really, he could put Colombia out of business. Like, you want to win the war on drugs? Send Hunter to Colombia. He'll snort the whole country's cocaine like a vacuum cleaner right up his nose. It's like, Jeff, what happened? What happened to the supply of cocaine? Hunter, it all went up his nose. We won. Jay on the South Shore. Thanks for holding, Jay, and welcome.
Jeffrey, how are you today, sir?
Good, good. Well, a hell of a lot better than Hunter, I'll tell you this. Poor guy, he's missing his bag of cocaine.
Yeah, I'm sure he has plenty of backup. But what I wanted to say, Jeff, is don't take the bait. This is all a setup. Because you know what the biggest story this weekend is? Look what's going on in France.
Oh, I thought you were going to say what's going on in Ukraine. Did you hear about the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant?
No, I mean, who knows?
Jay, that's a huge one. So just super quick, Jay, 10 seconds. The Ukrainians are now saying the Russians are going to blow up the nuclear power plant. The Russians are saying the Ukrainians are going to blow up the nuclear power plant. And both sides say it's going to happen by the end of today. Now, if that power plant, it's a nuclear plant, if they blow that thing up, whether it's the Ukrainians or the Russians, we're going to have Chernobyl all over again. And Zelensky is going to use that as the pretext to say it's now time for NATO and the United States to directly get involved and invade and attack Russia. So, I mean, I'll be looking at that today and seeing if it may not happen. I hope it doesn't happen. But this is one of the biggest stories in the world. And you're right. France has fallen. That's another massive story. France has fallen. Massive riots over the whole week. Paris, Parisian suburbs, Lyon, Marseille, some of the key cities. It's an intifada. Bakhmut has now arrived to France. So the world is on edge, and they've got cocaine in the White House.
Setup. I mean, every square inch of that building is under surveillance 24/7. So for them to not take fingerprints off the pouch, I mean, that's ridiculous. That's the only proof you're going to have. And all I want to know is, you know, who found it? Who did they report it to? And Congress should depose them and start asking them questions. Because it's all a setup. Do you think that they would let this out? They would keep this all in-house. The Secret Service, the FBI, they overlooked 3,952 serious offenses, but yet they're going to bring this out. There's no way that they would let this out of the House. There's no way.
Yeah, Jay, look, something is going on. Now, I don't know if it's a whistleblower, someone who, because people don't know who called. By the way, the White House is frantic to find out who made the call. Someone made the call. And they're more interested in finding out who the caller is than who owns that bag of cocaine. And you're completely right. Lift the fingerprints, you've got him dead to rights. Look at the surveillance video footage, you've got him dead to rights. They know whose bag of cocaine it belongs to. They just are trying to cover it up. It belongs to Hunter. You know it, we know it, everybody knows it.